Inhaling is actually energy. The way we breathe reflects the state that we are in. The way you breathe is responding to the situation that you're in. The way you breathe can also get you in this emotional state. We are over-breathing, and then our heart rate is faster, our blood pressure is higher, our digestion slows down. My name is Wittink. I'm a professional musician and I'm a breath coach. So I studied classical saxophone. When I started my studies, I found that I had some trouble with this breath support, with the breathing techniques. Looking back, I think I had a high level of tension in my body, so I had a bit of a high stress level, but I was not aware of that. I was quickly fatigued. I was quickly nervous before going on stage. Then I was looking for answers in, what kind of food to eat or what to do about my mental state. How can I help myself to not be so nervous anymore when playing. And on top of that, to make the story complete, I had this, in the beginning of my studies, I had this throat surgery. They removed my tonsils because they were bothering me a bit when playing. And it was supposed to help me, of course. But afterwards, probably because of the scar tissue that was there, that was causing this area to be less flexible. And then when I was playing, the air was leaking out of my nose. It was even harder for me to have a good breath support. But my fascination about this breathing and how to improve my playing and my health already had started.
What are the health-related symptoms to incorrect breathing?
There are many. I will name a few. Dizziness, lack of concentration, problems with your skin. If you are stressed, pH value is changed in your body. Your digestion is not optimal.
How do you know that someone is breathing incorrectly?
The way we breathe reflects the state that we are in. And the state that we're in is related to the autonomic nervous system. So you could say, do you have a lot of stress in your system, or are you activated, or are you in more relaxed state? And a relaxed state does not mean that you have to be asleep, but there is a whole space between those opposite of very active and sleep. If you are more active, you tend to breathe more. If you're running, you need to breathe more in order to have this energy that you want. Breathing and inhaling is actually energy. Activation is inhaling and have more energy. We are activated a lot in our society, but not have the tools or the kind of life in which we can relax. When we try to relax, the body is not really relaxing. The mind is still running. The heart rate is still high, and your breathing is also high or deep, too frequent or too much volume with inhalation. And that means that if you are sitting on a couch thinking that you're relaxing and watching a nice Netflix series, that your body is running a marathon. So you're not really relaxing. And that is very crucial nowadays in our society. If I would breathe like this, then you would probably think, is there something the matter with her? Is she stressed or is she sick? What we are doing often, we are over-breathing. And maybe not as much as I was just doing right now, but we can also over-breathe a little bit. And then we're not so aware of it. But we are breathing faster, and that's because of this activation that we have in our system. And then our heart rate is faster, our blood pressure is higher, our digestion slows down, and you have all kinds of these effects in your body. what is so special about breathing is that we can use it the other way around. So if we want to slow ourselves down, sitting on the same couch watching Netflix, probably it's better to not watch Netflix at all, but still, if we want to really relax, for example, before you go to sleep, then you can intervene and do a breath exercise that helps you slow down, that helps you to calm down, slow down the state that you're in. And in that way, your heart rate will go down and your body has a chance to recover. And because you have chance to recover, you will gain more energy in your life. So the problem with people that are, for instance, fatigue, have a chronic fatigue, is not the activity, but is the inactivity. All the time that they are inactive, the body should be really in the parasympathetic state and really have time to recover. So that's one thing. Why or how do I recognize someone with a breathing pattern that's not healthy, right? So that's breathing too much. And that goes together with being in an active state. So you probably can see that someone is not so relaxed. And you see that in the way they are behaving, that they are not in a relaxed way. And that goes together with breathing too much. You cannot say you should always breathe 6 times per minute. It depends on how your lungs are functioning. And it depends on your activity. If you're running, if you're doing a lot, of course you breathe more. So it has to match the state that you're in. And that's why I was saying, if you're sitting on the couch or sleeping, you're trying to recover, then your breath rate should be lowered again. And if it's still high, then it's an indication of that you're out of balance and not being able to get into what we call parasympathetic mode.
And now I will give you this question from the previous guest, okay? I will play it on the laptop.
If you could go to a no-man island, would you really do it?
No, I would not. Because I think humans need other humans to live. And for me, when I'm too long time alone, I feel out of balance. So I need my time alone, but I also very much need other people around me. Yeah. So it might be a good experience, confrontation with yourself. So how would I manage to do this for a week, maybe? I think that will be long enough. Practice breathing to get myself in a relaxed state, connect with myself. But no, I would not want to leave my loved ones behind. No. So can we breathe too much? Yes, we can, unfortunately. And we're not always aware of it. We think we're taking in more oxygen, but we don't. We deprive ourselves of oxygen. So why does it happen? That has to do with the so-called Bohr effect. It's not that we take in more oxygen, but it is that we exhale too much CO2. CO2 is also a waste product from the metabolism of our cells, of our producing energy. We also need some CO2 in order to take the oxygen out of the blood into the cell tissue. And that's the thing. So it's not about the amount of oxygen in your blood. It's about how to get the oxygen out of the red blood cells into the cell tissue. And there we need CO2 for that. If we breathe too much, then we exhale also too much and too fast. And because we're breathing too fast, our bodies don't have time to balance those levels of CO2 in our bodies. So that's the problem. So breathing too much is only healthy as a kind of stress exercise to make our body stronger. Nose breathing versus mouth breathing. The mouth is not what you want to use for your breathing all day long. So you want to use your nose that's built actually exactly for that purpose and has a lot of advantages above mouth breathing. It can be a pattern, mouth breathing just because your parents did that, but it can also be a cause, a result, I must say, of being too stressed. Because then you want to breathe more and more because you're activated. And through your mouth, you can breathe in more, right? It's easier, it's faster. So that may be a cause as well of dysfunctional breathing. And when you do that long enough, then it becomes also harder to nose breathe because there are also much effects going on in your mouth nose cavity.
You mentioned breath support. Can you explain what that is?
Breath support is regulating the air that comes out. You're using muscles in order to not let the air out immediately. You want to have a kind of control of your sound. When you're singing or playing a wind instrument, the exhale is active. And then when you're letting go, you have a kind of under pressure, kind of vacuum, and then the air flows in again.
What muscles do we use for that?
The diaphragm is the most important breathing muscle that we have. I say muscle, but it's not like a muscle that we can use like our arm. But the point is that you cannot move the diaphragm itself, but you have to use the muscles around it.
Why is breathing important for musicians?
Wind players and singers transform breath into sound. And the way we breathe has so much influence on the way we play. With your whole body and with your mind, you're making music. You're touching people, so it's also about emotions. So that makes it a very important subject to us. The way we breathe is related to the tension we have in our bodies, to the state that we are in. And the tension can be caused by stress, but also just the way we're used to move, things we copied from our parents. So everybody is different. Every body is different. So we have different awareness in our bodies. But the more aware we are, and the more we can get rid of tension that is not needed anymore, that has to do with all trauma, for example, the more freely our breathing can be. And then the more free we can make music. And it's very difficult to say you should do this and this and this, because it's about awareness. And that's why I think it's so important to give both knowledge about how the diaphragm works and why belly breathing is a very, kind of narrow-minded, I think, way of looking at breathing. Because if you are looking at the movement of the diaphragm in our body, you see that this movement is 360 degrees, So it's the sides, it's the back, it's the belly, but it's also the torso, the ribs. You want them actually to be quite flexible so that they can expand. And not expand by forcing it to expand, but because it's a natural way of moving because the diaphragm is lowering, you know? So it's an effect of the way the diaphragm moves and not because you're forcing it to open, for example. So it's a movement of 360 degrees. It's a movement up, it's a movement down. And if you know that, then you have this image in your mind. Your body has a clue where it should go to, you know?
What are the traps for musicians, especially brass instrument players?
The trap is that you're forcing too much. Because you think, I need a lot of air and I need a lot of power and I need to play long sentences, and that you have too much pressure in your body, too much pressure downwards, for instance. And I think that that's not good for your organs, for your heart also, that is connected to the diaphragm. Of course, you want to engage muscles, but you want to engage them in a most natural way that is not forcing and leaves this area free to use for your music. So if you're pushing down and your head turns red, for instance, that's a whole other movement than the bottom-up support that I just mentioned. And also classical singers that, of course, have to be very careful with their voice and cannot push too much, like some trumpet players do, some high blowers do. So I think a lot of classical singers give a good example of having a lot of power, but also very freely. And that's the holy grail, I think. I was very enthusiastic about the lessons I got from a Feldenkreis practitioner. And Feldenkreis is all about awareness and making all the movements, being really aware of them. And how the more aware you are about the movements you make, the less tension you need. Because you can make them very precise. So the less tension you need, of course, the more easy it feels and the more freely you can make music. I asked him to collaborate with me in making an online course for musicians. These are awareness exercises combined with some knowledge about how the diaphragm moves and how you can feel these different parts of your body. So some exercises are also stretching, you know, to make your lower back being able to expand. And other exercises are Feldenkrais exercises that make you aware, and you can do them, you can repeat them as many years as you want, and step by step gradually feel movement in your body. And there are also some exercises for breath support, and there is also some explanation about breathing and tension and why we breathe too much, how we can avoid that, and some pranayama exercises to help you with tension or with getting more energy.
Would you share some exercise maybe for the viewers?
Well, an exercise I often use, I also said something about the pelvic floor. So an exercise you can easily try out is to contract those muscles, like you're having to pee but you cannot go yet, right? And then let it go, relaxing them again as much as possible. And then combine it with breathing. So you, for instance, first you breathe in and contract it, breathe out and let go. Breathe in, contract, breathe out, let go. And then really let go. You don't have to contract very much, but really relax after, so that you feel the difference. And then I'm going to it a bit quickly right now. You can do it in your own pace. Then do it the other way round. And then you're exhaling, contracting a bit, and inhaling, relaxing. And then feel the difference between the relaxation and contracting. Maybe afterwards you are relaxing more. It can be, it doesn't have to be, of course. And also feel the difference in inhaling between the two variations. So with which variations is it for you more easy to inhale in a relaxed way?
And everybody will have different answer? Or there will be one answer for all?
Most people will say, when I inhale and relax the pelvic floor, it's more easy for me to inhale and to feel my belly and my sometimes back. But for a lot of people, that's more difficult to feel when you inhale. So you feel it lower, you feel a lower movement of the breath than when you inhale and contract. Then you tend to breathe more high. Yeah, and so why is that good? Because I think awareness is key, and it's better to say, do this, do that. No, I say, try out this and then try out that. Then what is the difference? And then you become aware and you can listen to your own body. And then when your body has a clear difference and is ready to let go of some tensions, which can take up some time, then your body can feel the difference and say, wait, this one is more easy, or this one is more comfortable for me. I choose that one. If you do an exercise that you feel the difference, then you say, oh wait, that's different than what I usually do. And then you know. But beforehand, it's normal. It's normal for you. So how would you know? And people can say to you, calm down, calm down. So I am calm. And what is the problem? You don't know because for you, it's normal.
And if someone feels the improvement, then he or she will want more and will just dive into it.
Exactly. Like what happened to both of us. When you feel the improvement, I was feeling more relaxed. I was playing better. I felt more at ease. I felt more in control. And then I thought, wow, is this possible? And then you get enthusiastic and want to teach, you want to share it. Yes. Yeah.
The last question is to be written in the notebook. You don't have to answer it loud. Just write the answer. And the question is, what is the most valuable lesson would be worth to share with people, especially with people you care about? So it has to be something really special.
Hi, Roel. Roel, we did the breath coach education together. In what way did this education, these studies, change you as a person?